let's start right at the very beginning, man. Morty, how long have you been in wrestling? I don't really know the Mortimer Blankenship the third, right? The
Yeah,
third? The third.
yeah.
Okay. I
Um,
don't know the whole your story. So how long have you been in wrestling?
I have been in wrestling for years. Uh, 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I started 2010. So I I lucked into wrestling. That's a true story. I never thought that I was going to be in professional wrestling. I've always been a fan. I grew up.
Yeah.
My dad was a fan of wrestling. Growing up, I would watch WCW while he watched WWF in his room. I'd watch WCW in my room, and then during commercial breaks, I'd run into his room and see what's
Oh,
going. So
okay.
I was always a fan. But I never thought I would be in it. So
Right.
in 2010, I was going to college in Columbus, Indiana, at IUPUC to be an elementary school teacher. That didn't work out, but I during the summer I was doing an internship at Cummins in Seymour, Indiana, and my mom had worked there. This was shortly after my mom passed away in 2009, but there were people there that knew me because of who my mom was. And one of those people was Lonnie Kincaid. And
I know that last name.
Lonnie wrestled as Luscious Lonnie Lee. He used to wrestle for Moondog Spot back in the day. And he was getting back into wrestling. He was wrestling for SCW in Madison, Indiana. At the time, it was ran by Matt Douglas, and he needed somebody to come in and be his lawyer.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and he was like, "Do you still act?" I'm like, "Well, not since high school. I haven't really, had a chance to do so." And he was like, "Well, I need someone to be my lawyer in a wrestling show. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Well, sure." He goes, "Here's your homework. You need to think of a lawyer-esque name." Now, Matt Robinson is not a lawyer-esque name.
No.
Um, so when he asked me that, without missing a beat, I said, "Mortimer Sebastian Blankenship the Third, Esquire." It was just a complete, just boom, 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 boom. He looked at me and
Okay.
said, "You thought about this before?" And I'm like, "Not really," but that's what came to mind.
That
Uh,
sounds like a lawyer's name. That would
yeah.
be an attorney.
So I
Yeah.
became Morty. That was I
Okay.
went down there. I went. So this is a real funny story. If you know anything about Morty, me myself and I the majority of my wrestling career, the beginning of it, was spent in Madison, Indiana, at Supreme Wrestling, NWA Supreme, AWA Supreme. It's gone through a few different names because they different different
Sure.
companies. Yeah, umbrella companies, of course. But I my first show was for SCW, which was Supreme Championship Wrestling in Madison. At the time, it was being ran by Matt Douglas. Long story short, I ended up breaking a clipboard over Roger Blade's head in the show, and because that's what I was told to do by the veterans in the match. And then Matt Douglas told me that that wasn't approved, that I would never work in Madison again. And I thought, okay, well, there was my cup of coffee. I did one match, and
Right.
and no, I'd not been trained. I literally went out there, cut a promo, worst promo in the history of professional wrestling, and then hit a guy with clipboard because that's what they wanted me to do. So I thought I was done. A couple months later, I did a show in North Vernon, Indiana, and that's where I met Eric Draven,
Okay.
and we became really close friends. He started running SCW again. Matt Douglas tore the place up and left. It's a long story. For that would be for your interview with Eric Draven if you ever interview him.
Sure.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Sure.
But I started working down there. I got properly trained, and believe it or not, I am trained to wrestle. I am not a
Okay.
great bumper. I am not a great bumper. That is why I choose to manage more often. But I can do it. I can work a comedy match. I can work a solid match
Mhm.
um, better than some people.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, and people, people are sometimes shocked by the fact that I can, actually make a match make sense. It's because I understand my character and what my
Right.
character would do in the ring. Um,
Right. Do you feel like it's important for a manager to not necessarily, I don't want to say not be able to bump well, but for a manager to look like he doesn't know how to bump properly?
Absolutely, managers and wrestlers, there has to be a dividing point somewhere in their athletic abilities. Now, the only difference is if you look at I'm a big guy. You look at the big guys of the '80s, they weren't great bumpers.
Hmm.
So show George the Animal Steel, like you're not going to see that guy bumping his butt off. That's just
Right.
right.
Yeah. I
But
feel like,
the difference was the character that he played. So
yes.
yes, there are wrestlers that aren't athletic, but if you're a manager, you don't want to portray yourself as more athletic than your wrestler.
And I feel like sometimes bumping, especially like the flat back bumps, look almost too polished and too,
Mm, yeah,
too well
bam,
done.
smacking out and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't look natural, but like what you just talked about, like if you're a manager or an interviewer or anybody that's not an
Why
on like
crumble?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like why would you know how to
right,
fall properly, you
right.
know?
And if I'm, let's say I am working a match under a mask or something, not being Morty, yeah, if I have to bump, I'm going to flat back as best as I can,
Right.
or I'm gonna just take a face bump.
Hmm.
If someone is not doing a move to me like a Russian leg sweep or whatever, something where they're actually guiding me down, if they hit me if they hit me with a clothesline, I'm so big, unless the guy's a monster, I'm not gonna bump. I'm gonna go back against the
Thank
rope and
you.
bounce off the rope.
Thank
That's
you.
just that's I play this coward when I'm Morty, but if I'm not Morty, I'm big enough guy that I
Yeah.
wouldn't be a coward. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I just saw a video recently that you posted at the time of this recording, probably 3 or 4 days ago, where you were in the ring. You took, it looked like a Superman punch, and
Oh yes,
the way you almost folded down when
yeah,
you went down, that looked natural,
yeah. I
you know?
appreciate that. Like so, my boss at work, she saw it on, um, and she goes, I noticed when you fell that you kind of you kind of staggered and then went down instead of
Mhm.
just going down. I'm like, yeah, I'm 300, 360 pounds. I'm going to just take it easy. I don't have any reason to,
Right.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So,
But I feel
yeah,
like one thing that maybe people didn't notice was not necessarily the way you fell or the way you hit, but that split second after you got hit, your reaction, the way you reacted to it, you're like, oh, it's
yeah. If you look at
the
my,
little things.
if you look at my face, I, you can see me go, ow, like,
Yes.
yeah,
And it's the little things like that that tell the story of the move
Mhm.
or the segment. I feel like the you might agree, you might disagree. I feel like the little things are what's missing in the local independent level of wrestling right now. It's those
Absolutely.
little things.
Well, big things too. But
There's a lot, but
yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot that's missing.
yeah.
Um, here's one thing, and this is so you see all these people post their highlight videos that they've made, right? Every single one of those videos, and forgive me if you hear my dog is back here drinking water. My baby
That's
is
okay. My
crying.
12-year-old daughter might pop in and make a cameo. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. So,
but um,
yeah.
one second. And too many concussions. Hang on. Right. So highlight reels.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
highlight
Highlight
reels.
reels. Yes, too many college things.
Post
Highlight
highlight
reels.
reels.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
People post highlight reels, and all it is them doing the same moves over and over and over again. Show me a highlight reel. Show me you entering the ring, which they do that sometimes. I want to see what you look like when you're in the ring. I want to see some of the moves that you do, but put a promo in that highlight.
Hmm.
Show me talking. Show me your facial expressions. Don't just show me performing moves.
Hmm.
That granted, yes, moves are a big part of professional wrestling, but they have people put too much emphasis on the moves in professional wrestling,
Yeah.
and they don't put enough on the selling anymore.
I was that was one of the points that I wanted to ask you about is, yes, the moves are obviously important because the moves are what the match itself is what finishes the story off. But what do you feel is the most important to the total package of it? You've got the promo, you've got the match, you've got the story itself and the creativity or the creative behind it. What do you feel like is the most important
The
of all of
story
it?
that's being told,
Yes.
the story that's being told is the most important part um, of professional wrestling. Um, and you know, I people have this argument of sports entertainment versus professional wrestling. And in my mind, that's how I used to think it was. But now I've come to realize that there's professional wrestling, there's sports entertainment, and then there's this other it's a sports entertainment, but it's because WWE sports entertainment, but they still tell stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
You watch certain independent companies, they don't tell any stories. They just go out there and see how many moves they can do without killing each other.
Hmm.
And see if they can pop the people in the back. And that's fun. Doing shows like that, sure,
Yeah.
that's fun. But you're taking too many bumps. I'm not gonna be the grumpy old veteran guy that says that's gonna hammer this, but you do have a bump card, and you only have so many bumps you're gonna take before you're done. And and then you're gonna see I'm gonna get rambling. Um, you have um, you talk about the story. Stories are told by the characters you play. And if your character is, I'm so and so with a different finisher than so and that's the only thing that's different, where's the story?
Hmm.
If you ask a guy, what's your gimmick? Well, I'm this high flyer that does this, that, and that. That's not a
That's not a
gimmick, right?
gimmick. Yeah.
That's not a gimmick. And one thing is, once you get old and you can't do that high flying stuff anymore, and since you never build up a gimmick, you're out. Nobody cares about you anymore.
Yep.
Now, if you were a high flying, I don't know, firefighter, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that you know brought a fire extinguisher to the ring and would shoot people with it every now and again. You know, people will
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
Once you can't do the high flying bull crap anymore,
Yeah.
not to say that it's all bull crap, but if you do 7 flips in a match, you're not going to be able to do that down the road. And
Hmm.
let's hope you have enough money to retire by that time.
Exactly.
Because
What do you think makes a good manager? Because I've only been on one show with you, but I
Mhm.
knew who you were for a very long time before I saw you at that show. And I
Right.
feel like for one, there's not enough good managers or not enough managers on the local level of indie wrestling, for one.
Okay, so
And what makes it good?
there are a lot of managers.
Notice I said
Uh,
good managers. There's
right,
not a lot
right.
of good
There
managers.
are a select few good managers. I
Yeah.
don't like tooting my own horn, but I do think that I am worth what I ask for.
Yeah.
I
There's a
believe that
reason
I
people know who you are
mhm,
without
right,
even having seen you in person. I feel
right.
like.
There's me. There's Hollywood Bobby Olson.
Mhm.
There's David. There's Barnabas Spector, and there's House, Hollywood House,
Hollywood, yeah.
and then Legion, which used to be known as Darren O'Neill.
Okay.
These five guys are all, you know, the
They're
top of them,
characters.
and they all have characters. Um,
Yes.
and that's, you know, when you think of managers, I don't know of any manager back in the 80s that didn't have a character. Um,
I would even say the 90s as well.
right,
The early 90s.
right. There's there's this thought in wrestling, not by all bookers, but by some that I'm putting my hat back on because man, that gray is shining. Um,
And we're not used to seeing you without a hat.
right. Not your see with glasses either, right? Um, there's some a lot of bookers think, hey, that we don't need to book managers because so and so is bringing his cousin along. He can stand outside the ring, and that happens a lot. You have managers that have never been trained to actually take a bump if they have to know what the psychology of wrestling is. They've watched it on TV. They know what they're doing. That's what's different between me, the guys that I just named, and all the other people that don't know what they're doing. We've been trained,
Mhm.
um, and I believe that I'll straight up tell you right now, it is very hard to get booked as just a manager. You cannot market yourself, even with the character that I've played. That I've you know I've been I'm a regional guy. I'm not going to say I'm a superstar. I'm a regional guy, but I'm known in the region. It's
Mhm.
still hard for me to get booked because nobody wants to pay a manager. But here's the thing: I just did a show this past weekend and made $240 on merch sales because people wanted stuff from me.
Right.
You can't tell me that I'm not putting asses in seats.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you're allowed to cuss on here. I
You can
apologize.
say whatever the hell you
Okay,
want to say.
cool,
It's
cool.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can't tell me that I don't put asses in seats when I'm, you know, I sell fedoras. I bought a box of fedoras 2 weeks ago and sold out. You 30 in a box, and I sold them out of that show.
That's amazing.
Right? So you can't tell
Yeah.
me that people don't want me on their show.
Right.
But so many people like don't want to pay managers. They don't. I got. I've only been fired from one show. I'm not going to name
Really?
names
Sure.
because because I. But it was a show up north in northern Indiana, and they didn't want to pay me $20.
Really?
I offered to do the show because I was going to. Because I work with. I'm good friends with Gaston LaRue. I love
Hmm.
working with Gaston. I love being his manager. I went up there. I did two shows for them. The first one I did for free because I wanted them to see me do my work. They
Right.
enjoyed it.
Get a
The
foot in the
next
door.
show, the next show, I get there. He goes, "Hey, I know the house is a little light, but everybody's getting their envelope." Oh, cool. He told me that right at the beginning of the show.
Right.
After the show, everybody got envelopes except for me. And I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, I thought everybody was getting an envelope." He goes, "Oh, I thought you were working for free." I said, "That was the first show we talked about, you know." And it was like it was a burden to take a $20 bill from the man. And then before the next show, 2 weeks before the show, the booker didn't tell me I was fired, but Gaston LaRue, he had Gaston tell me that they didn't want me anymore. So that's how hard it is as a manager to
Right.
get booked places. And I worked a long, long time for free.
Mhm.
Let's be honest. That's there there is no money in wrestling at the starting level.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
Yeah.
that. And I'm not expensive. I rely on myself to sell gimmicks to make
Yeah.
money because I'm not trying. Look, I've been in this business for 14 years. I'm 35 years old. I'm not trying to get famous. Yeah, I would
Right.
love to go. I would love to be, you know, on the NWA or something like that. But I'm not trying to get famous. I'm just
Yep.
trying to have a good time with my friends
Yes.
and entertain people because I was born a attention whore. I can't help it. That's what I thrive off of that. Some people like drugs. I like professional wrestling and being in the spotlight, and that's what I like to do. So I just want to go and perform in front of many different people as I can, and in order to do so, I'm taking a hit on pay. Like I'm not
Hmm.
going, but so many places, oh well, we don't really book managers. We don't book. Well, cool. Well, I have this guy that could come with me, and we'll do a package deal,
Right.
and that sometimes gets me booked.
Hmm.
Other than that, I have my staple shows now. I work for Wrestling Theology Fellowship.
Yep.
I work for Emerge Wrestling.
Yep.
I work for XCW, and I work for Supreme. Those are my four main shows now.
Mhm.
Because A, they all know what I'm worth.
Yep.
B, they all pay me.
Right. Right.
uh, and C, I I get to do what I love,
Yeah.
and
And you have a
that's
connection with those fans because you're
right,
a regular staple of those shows now,
right,
you
right.
know? You'd mentioned that you have your four staple promotions. You're happy with where you're at, the level you're on. How much of that has to do with, and how much of that became that way because you became a father? And how has becoming a parent affected the way you approach professional wrestling? And did it change your character at all?
Not no. I'm still the same Morty. I this the first few months now I want to stay closer. Um,
Hmm.
but there's part of me that um, I finally came into my stride. It feels like for the longest time, I didn't focus, and I have to thank my wife for this. My wife has really helped me, um, put together a merchandise table, and with my the way my mind works when it comes to selling things, and with the way her mind works when it comes to supplying things, I guess is the best way to put it. It really gave me this idea that I want to get out. I want to be wrestling at wrestling shows at least 3 days a month, four, maybe five, and that's on Fridays and Saturdays.
Hmm.
And I want to continue to do it until my daughter can see me do it
Okay.
and remember it,
Okay.
because I want to, and if she likes it, I'll continue to do it as long as my body lets me do it.
Right.
Because I have this, I would love for my daughter to want to become a wrestler.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, if she doesn't, I'm going to be happy no matter what.
Yeah.
But if Blip, what we jokingly call her Blip, and that was what her grandfather called her when we first found out my wife was pregnant. Was up, she's a blip on the radar. Basically, it's Blip. Um, so we jokingly call her Blip the Flip Blankenship. That's her
It's
wrestling name.
awesome.
And I would love for that to happen. I would love, and like Supreme, all the shows I go to are great, but Supreme, it's a weekly show.
Hmm.
It's a weekly show. It's a training school. It is
Yeah.
more of a family. So
Hmm.
like I would love for her to, to be a part of that and be able to learn in the same ring that I learned in from the same people that I did. It would be awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, but I guess I used to be like, man, I would really love to, go work in Japan or go do some of this traveling and all that.
And we all,
Right,
that's a lot of people's, that's like the ultimate, you know?
right. And now I'm happy. I, you know, I I guess the one thing that a lot of wrestlers want is to be remembered.
Yeah.
And I truly feel like it may not be a lot of people, but I'm hoping that one day a guy is taking his grandkid to a wrestling show and says, "Now, when I was your age, there was a guy named Mortimer Blankenship, and he used to take me off so bad." Anything, and it'll be long. I'll be long gone by then. Won't know, that it occurred. But just to think that that may happen one day is a good feeling for me.
Right.
So yes, I am very content with the four shows that I work with. However, there is this part of me that just wants to go and do one-off shows
Yeah.
and go and take my guy with us and job out for one of their I don't care. Winning and losing doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It never has, because I just want to tell that story. I want to entertain people, and just you know when it comes down to it, when Morty's a heel, because 9 times out of 10 Morty's going to be heel. um I want to elicit that emotion from people where they want to see me get what's coming, and then finally when I do, they just pop.
Yep.
That is, and people ask, what's the best part, or well, let me put it this way. When I first started out getting into this, my family was like, "Do you get paid a lot?" No, not really. Do you, do you get beat up? Yeah, it hurts. There's some parts of that hurt, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, why do you do it then?" To which I responded, "Why did you play intramural sports? Why'd you do church league baseball? You enjoyed it."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, what do you enjoy most about it?" I'm like, "To be honest, it's the look on the kids' faces when I finally get what's coming to
You have the seminar you have coming up. Is this your first seminar?
me." This is my first seminar I've ever
How did
done.
that come about?
Uh, it was I just was talking to uh, Draven, and said, because here recently I've been I've been riding with more people in the car. More people have been hopping in the car, going to other shows with me
Sure.
just to come along.
Yeah.
And a few of these people I've been talking to about merch sales and character development, because that's a big thing that I see that lacks in professional wrestling. There are so many wrestlers that actually have characters that don't
Mhm.
sell gimmicks when they could and make money,
Yes. There's
because
no merch from with people.
I don't want to yeah, I do this because I enjoy, but to do this and make money is a bonus. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And I don't want to sound you know negative, but when we're in these independent shows around Indiana, we aren't superstars. We aren't getting that superstar pace. We might as well be trying to make that superstar money ourselves.
Yes.
And you know, I have so many ideas that always pop up in my head for other wrestlers of easy ways to make money. Like, just a couple of ideas here. If you, Everybody wants to sell pictures and T-shirts. Everybody wants to sell pictures and T-shirts, right? That is, pictures sell to the hardcore wrestling fans, or the little kids that want an autograph. But most of those
Mhm.
little kids are going to come up to you with a piece of paper and just ask you to write the sign on that piece of paper. You're not going to make
Yeah.
any money.
Yeah.
Uh, However, you want those kids to come to your table, because then the adults come. And when the adults come, they're the ones who are more likely to buy the T-shirts, buy the pictures, and other things like that. But if you could give them something that is unique and cheaper, like my fedoras. I sell fedoras for $5 a piece, and I sign them,
Right.
right? And I
That's
go through
genius.
hotcakes. I go through like
Yes.
hotcakes. Um,
Is
there's there's a female wrestler that wears sunglasses, and she has beads across the top of them.
hmm.
And I was like, I stopped her and I said, "Look, I'm just gonna give you some. You can take this or leave it." I said, "But your stickers are cool, but if you had those sunglasses, if you went to the Dollar Tree and bought sunglasses that look like Ray-Ban Wayfarers, like those or whatever the type that she was using," I said, "or go on Amazon. You can buy them for that are less than $1 a piece if you buy them in bulk. Get yourself a hot glue gun and some beads. Boom, 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 boom. Sell them for $5 a pop, and you're making $3 profit each one." You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's and I don't want to give away too much of what
Exactly, because you
because
want to save that for the,
right, right,
yeah,
but it's and we touched on a little bit earlier about gimmicks. What's your gimmick? Oh, I'm a high flyer. That's not a gimmick. You need a gimmick.
right?
I've wore a I have wore a fedora since day one.
Hmm.
Day one of my professional wrestling career, I have worn a fedora to the ring as Mortimer Blankenship. I've never taken that fedora off in a show other than getting it knocked off or throw or fanning somebody. I always have a fedora no matter what show I'm on. Um, Another thing, your music. So many people change their music more times than they change
No.
their cat's kitty litter. It's ridiculous. I've been, like I said, 14 years. I've had four different songs, right?
Hmm.
And they all are based on money because that's part of my gimmick. The Mutton Shop Millionaire. I've had these the whole time. I've had these since I was 14. I've never gotten rid of them. Now, granted, I did grow a beard at one point because I grew a beard, but I shaved it off in the mutton chops again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's um, more recently, which this actually has been a while now. I carry a golf club to the ring. That's my
That's
gimmick.
your Jim Cornette, your Paul
That's
Heyman.
my weapon. My
Yes.
my my gimmick, brother. You know
Yep.
that's what.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I have a catchphrase,
Mm,
and you could take that to the bank, and then I laugh maniacally,
it's perfect.
and that is what people miss out. I make so I have T-shirts that a company makes for me, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, that
Hmm.
you can buy online that they make. I make a very small profit off of them, um, and, but I have no work in it. There's no
Right.
work. There's
Right.
zero work in it. I literally just send them pictures and stuff that they need to put on shirts for me, and they will do that. And people can order them directly. And I make
That's
a
awesome.
small profit. Now, my shirts that are show exclusive, I make myself. I have a Cricut right over here, a vinyl cutter,
Nice.
and I make shirts that are they're green, they're soft, they're the soft material. And what do they say? And you can take that to the bank, ha 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 ha, and have my autograph right here. I have $4.75 into each shirt because I make them myself. I sell them for a $20 bill. So that's the profit I make on those. I'll be openly honest. The ones I sell online, I make a $5 bill. The ones I make myself, I make 15 bucks.
15.
It's amazing how much more of a profit you can make if you take 2 or 3 hours out of your month
Hmm.
and make
Right.
merch.
You have to
That
put the effort into what you do to
right,
make it worth doing.
right,
That's the one thing I've noticed is
yeah.
it takes work. Everything takes work.
But yeah, I and I'm going to talk about character development. I'm going to talk about promos and what makes a good promo, what makes a bad promo. Because just because you know what makes a good promo doesn't mean you won't put stuff that makes it bad immediately. And you know what I'm saying? You got to
Yeah.
know both. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I watch promos and okay, so I'm not going to name names. Saw a promo. The guy was bashing his opponent, who was a second generation star, bashing his opponent because his dad had never wrestled anywhere really, other than the company that they were wrestling their match in. How does that make any sense? You are downgrading the company you're about to go wrestle for.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many things that I just want to that I want to I want to point out, and
Mhm.
there's a reason why I'm doing it for cheap. I'm doing it for $10 because I want people to be able to come to it. I'm not trying to make a killing off of it. I just I just want to help people, and
And-
I'm mostly making that money so that I can basically pay for my time that I'm taking up at the building.
Right.
You know what I mean? The bill
Yep.
that the time that I'm going to be there is usually when Supreme's doing their training. So I'm taking time away from the training class to do a seminar. So
Right.
that's why I got to make a little money off of it. But I really do want to help these newer people. That's a
Mhm.
part of me being a manager that I think that a lot of these other managers don't get. There's more to it than just standing out beside the ring. You
Yeah.
go out there and you stand by the ring and cheer, cheer your guy, and get booze. Basically, what if maybe you're heel, you do what you need to do. But I used to take on the green guys in wrestling as I would manage the green guys and teach them how to be heels. And if they got lost, I taught them how to, grab a hold, or and if they still don't know what they need to do, bring the guy, choke him on the ropes, grab the ref, I'll choke the guy and tell them where they need to go.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? How many managers do you think do that?
Not enough. Hardly any on
You know
this
what I'm saying?
level. Yeah.
Like, and there's a certain company like I try to get booked to this other company, which it's a mud show. I don't know why I even tried. I guess it was just because I was bored, like I said. But try to get booked on this one show. He never messaged me back because I asked for the one match that I would be involved in to agent it. I would like to write the match. You tell me who you want over and how you want them over, and I would like to write the match. I would like to give a little beginning, a little middle, a little end, if you know what I mean. We'll walk and talk the whole time, baby. Yeah,
The bullet points,
yeah,
Yeah.
it because and don't get me wrong, these guys like to talk their whole matches out. That ain't me. When I wrestle, that's one thing. When I wrestle, I'm walking and talking.
Right.
That's just how who I am because it's easier that way.
Yeah, you brought some really good points. What's missing with managers right now? What
Mm-hmm.
makes a what makes a good manager? What sets a good manager apart from your ringside?
It's knowing when to shut up, um, knowing when to let the wrestlers be the focal point, knowing when to work a hope spot, knowing when to get the crowd behind the baby face, even though you're the heel manager. How do you do that? It's simple. The heel has the baby in a chin lock. They're resting. They're tired, baby. But we need to get that crowd going so they can So one, because that's what the crowd is there to do, and two, you want them to be able to communicate a little bit in there. And if you have the crowd screaming and yelling, it covers it up a little bit more. So
Hmm.
that my go-to is if the baby face is in a hold and the crowd is just sitting there. That's when I'm like, yeah, don't hear you cheering for so and so now. That's right. That's because he's too good. And then I'll start cheering for my guy. Yeah, and they'll
Right.
automatically, you know, and and then I'll get mad because they're cheering for that. It's that simple. It's not okay. I like to say it's not rocket science. Rocket science. I like to say that, but
There's an art to it, though.
there's a heart and logic to it that people
Yeah.
don't understand. Um, I get so sick of just seeing managers stand inside the ring, worried about their spots and just doing their spots. I guess the difference between a good manager and a meh manager is the heart. You are right. It is the drive to make the match better and to know how to do so. Um, the difference between a meh manager and a bad manager is the bad manager wasn't trained. It's just somebody's cousin.
Right.
Right, which happens more often than I would like to see.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I used to be. This sounds. I used to be a lot more bitter about all of it.
Right.
But nowadays, I'm just happy to be able to do what I do, and um, you know, make a little bit of money doing so, and just have a good time and make memories. That's what I want to do.
Do you think part of being a good manager is making the crowd think that you're putting the attention and the focus on you, but you're really making them focus on the wrestlers?
That is a very good point. In a good storyline, um, in all the best angles that I know, it has always been a wrestler versus the manager. You know what I'm saying? The baby face is coming after that heel manager, and the heel manager just keeps putting people in front of him.
Yep.
As you know, and
Yep.
that storyline always works. However, the manager, even though the manager is the main focus of that angle, it gets um, to put different wrestlers on display.
Hmm.
This is the best way I could put it. Um, and if you work that angle, so long where it's like, oh, he's about to get his hands on him, and then no contact, and the manager gets away. The people start just foaming at the mouth, wanting to
Hmm.
see the heel manager get what's coming to him. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So yes, a good manager knows how to use their and I'm speaking from the heel side of things because all managers in my mind should be heel if you're which
I
I
was
I
going to
work
ask you that.
I work
Babyface
that
managers, there's not a lot of memorable ones.
I work as a babyface manager every now and again, but that's just you become a glorified cheerleader or hype man. You don't really do much, which I'll do it. I
Hmm.
don't do much of being a heel. Um, the way a babyface manager works more so, and this is old school. Miss Elizabeth, she is a babyface manager that that's the most memorable one in my mind. And the way you do that is you have her be have the heel try to get their hands on her.
Yep.
That's what it is, and have the babyface make
Hmm.
the stake. Um, and that's how that works. But in by today's standards, which I agree with, you can't really do that as much now, unless the female manager is okay with playing the damsel in distress. You don't. There's so many
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
instances, and,
Yeah.
and that is par for the course. So that,
Yeah.
but um, I lost my train of thought. It happens a lot.
We're talking
Going
about
back,
how being a heel manager is
right,
there's so much more you can do,
right,
with
right.
that.
You can do
Yeah.
so much more, but as a heel manager, the angles are usually you are the main topic of the angle, but because of that, all of your wrestlers get to thrive off of the spotlight of that.
Hmm.
You got to know when to dial it back and let the match tell the story and just shut your mouth, which was really hard for me early on in my career. I was really bad about not shutting my mouth when I needed to shut my mouth, which I learned. That's part of being a manager and being trained is you learn as you go, and you're never not learning. You're always sitting under someone's learning tree.
Is manager training hard? What is manager training like? And mm, I
For me, it
I
was
feel like there's not enough of it.
wrestling training. I
Okay.
learned the basics of professional wrestling, learned how to bump, learn how to throw clotheslines, learn how to lock up. I learned how to do everything so that I knew what was happening in the ring when I was on the outside. Then, as a manager, whenever the wrestling trainees are doing their trainee matches, you get put with the heel and go on the outside and do your thing, and that's how you learn. And then and with Supreme, every Saturday you'd be at training. Every Saturday night you'd be doing a show, and you'd be able to go out there and actually get ring time because once you're ready, as a manager, it's a lot faster. You're out there a lot quicker because you're not doing as much when it comes to physicality. When it comes to being a wrestler, once you are approved to go out there and do something, typically you get put under a mask and go out and job for weeks,
Mhm.
months as a jobber, and then finally you get to become who you want to be.
Right.
Um, that's that. There isn't much difference between manager and wrestling
Okay.
training other than you I hate to say it, most managers are more of an over the top character than most wrestlers.
Hmm.
My thought process is if you look at all the wrestlers that have really made it, like the ones that you will remember forever, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Yeah.
they were all wrestlers with a manager persona.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Over the
true.
top, over the top, just Hulk Hogan, who dude, big, just
Yeah.
you know, John Cena, big motions. That's the thing that makes the people that you'll remember forever the difference.
Hmm.
They are professional wrestlers with managers' personalities.
How important is this? Might be a random question, but and it may not be as important, but is it important the positioning of the manager and the wrestler on the entrance, where the manager is in correlation to the wrestler, in front
Depends
of the
what
wrestler,
story you're
behind
telling.
the wrestler?
Depends what story you're telling. Um, i if it's a stable and you have that um, you're the evil leader of a stable. Like when I was leader of Morty's Millionaires in Emerge, I almost always came out first, doing my evil laugh, just and then
But it
the
was
guys
your faction, though.
right, and then the guys would come out around me, and then I would,
Oh,
and then they would walk, and I would follow
oh,
them.
that's good.
Right. It's that don't overthink it. That there's,
Right.
there is no set way that's right. It, it is whatever feels right.
Okay.
And like this past show at Emerge, I was managing Daniel Eads, and it was a loser leaves Emerge match. Uh,
Oh,
it it actually turns out it was actually Daniel Eads' retirement match.
okay.
And thank you, Daniel, if you're watching this. Thank you for everything. You've had a great career, and it was so much fun managing you. But I wanted the focus to be on him.
Yeah.
So he went through the curtain first. Then I came out and pointed my golf club at him and did all. It, so it just depends. There is no set formula for that.
Well,
No.
that brings up an interesting question. If you when you're the manager and a loser leaves or retirement or whatever, I quit, man. Anything, not I quit. That's not retirement. You know what I mean? If your wrestler leaves, does the character also have to leave or no?
No, no, it was unless it's in the contract. I mean, unless they say that this is part of the contract. No, it was
Mm,
the rest. The yeah,
okay.
I still Mortimer Blankenship still has a manager license in Emerge Wrestling.
Well, and he's also a lawyer, and he would find a way to not have to
Right,
leave.
right,
Obviously.
right.
Where is this? This might be a fun one. Where's Morty the first and second?
Both in the ground.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I mean, it's real funny. Like not death, but my father, Lee Robinson, Howard Lee Robinson, I lost him December 16th of 2022. Um, but he was like I said earlier, he was a wrestling fan till the day he died. And it was so funny. Like he thought that everything I did, he would come to shows and sit when he still could, he had this cane, and he would get so mad, and he would get up and start even if I was playing a heel, he would get mad at the baby faces because I was his son, and I would just be like, Dad, I love it, but don't hit anybody. Like, he would get so caught up in it because he would think that it was he was he'd been a fan since the days of Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher and Wilbur
Oh,
Snyder. You know,
yes, yes.
he was a hardcore fan. He got to light one of Dick the Bruiser's cigars in Medora, Indiana, at the high school.
Oh,
And my dad was a hardcore wrestling fan to the point that he even at the in his late 60s, he would suspend belief. He would disbelief and just believe everything. And
yes,
that is
yes.
the beauty of wrestling, is that for that 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you're sitting there, you could suspend disbelief and actually get into it. And that was so Mortimer Blankenship II is actually Howard Lee Robinson, and he was an avid wrestling fan. And even though I I've only I've I've always been Morty, and
Right.
even though he knew that that wasn't my name, he would still get into it, and it was
That's
just yeah.
what was his reaction when he found out that you were going to be getting involved with wrestling? And wrestling fans from that era, like you said, got so in the you hear everybody's got a story of I would watch wrestling with my mom or dad, my grandma, they would just be yelling at the heels and just when he found out you're gonna be a heel as well, what was that moment
Oh,
like?
he he loved the fact that I was. He wasn't happy about the fact that I was a heel, but I'm like, Dad, I'm a manager. I want to be a
Right.
heel.
Right.
And because my dad is the old school, loves the baby faces, hates the heels. That
Right.
is just how he was.
Yeah.
Um, my dad was at my first two shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
He my mom had already passed away by then, so she never got to see me perform. My grandma came to my shows before she passed away. She didn't like it as much as dad. But she did enjoy watching me perform because she did watch me do, because I in high school I did plays and musicals. People,
Sure.
oh, you're in wrestling. Did you do wrestling in high school? No, I was a drama geek. That right,
Right.
right,
Well,
and
and
that's
wrestling in high school is completely different, though. There's not a lot of
oh yeah,
professional wrestling
no,
opportunities in high
no.
school, you
I
know?
would love for there to be more promos in high school sports. I think that would really, or
Ooh.
just sports in general. I would love, like me and my wife, we go watch dirt track racing during the
Mhm.
summer sometimes when I'm not working a wrestling show, and I would love for a guy after they win to come out. And they always get on the microphone like, I'd like to thank my sponsors, blah 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 blah. I'd like to thank God above, my family, blah blah blah. I want a guy to come out there and be like, I want to thank me. I want to tell all you people
Yes.
to sit out there sitting there on your butt, you're
Yes.
a bunch of sweat hogs, and I only did this for me and the money. I'm out. I would. God, how funny would
Yes.
that be?
I see. I cover sports as well, so I go to a lot of press conferences
Oh
for
yeah.
like I just so like it always makes me feel bad when you go to these college sports press conferences and the losing players have to go up to the podium and take questions. I've
Oh,
always man, I want so bad at the NCAA March Madness tournament for the losing team, the star player, to
just
not
heal out.
only not only declare for the draft, just heel out on the reporters, the fans. They pulled my hair. They did this, you
He
know,
gouged my eyes.
that was a
Come on,
closed
ref.
fist.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. It'd be
like,
great.
come on, that would be great.
That'd be awesome.
Morty, you're on Cameo, which
I am on Cameo.
that is awesome. How did
I
that
am.
happen?
I got an email and said, "Hey," because I applied for it a long time ago, and I got an email and
Okay.
said, "Hey, you've been accepted." I'm like, "Cool," because I guess I ended up I passed the 5,000 followers on Facebook,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was, I guess that's what you need. I
That's the
didn't realize
criteria?
that. I think I don't really know. I mean, I don't know. Like, people also know me from YouTube. I used to have a YouTube channel called Morty and Beard, but I'm
Okay.
also but I'm also on the Carpetbaggers channel quite a bit. Carpetbagger,
The
he
the
has
carpet company?
the Carpetbagger. He is a he travels the United States, going to different roadside attractions and films it.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something. I
Yeah,
work in an apartment complex. Our carpet company is Carpetbaggers. I'm like, the carpet.
now, but if you look up the Carpetbagger, you'll find he has like I think just short of 500,000 followers. It's his job, I mean, if you look up Carpetbagger versus Morty back in was it 2018, 2019, me and him had a loser shaves or sideburns match. It was in front of 1,300 people at Southwestern High School in Hanover.
Saw that when I was look when I like when I that one show I worked with you, I went and looked you up on YouTube, and I remember
Yeah,
seeing that in the search results, and I'm like,
yeah.
why is Morty fighting a carpet company?
No,
Like,
yeah, he's a famous YouTuber. He's
okay,
one of my close friends. He was actually in my wedding.
well,
Just
that's awesome.
yeah, he always wanted to wrestle, so I trained him enough, and we worked, and we basically did the same match over and over and over again, so that we could finally do it. And he put me over. I got to shave his sideburns off. It was awesome. It
That's
was it
awesome.
was yeah.
That is
Um,
awesome.
but my cameo, if you search Mortimer Blankenship, I'm the only one on there because who else has that name?
Right.
Um, and I'm $5. I'm cheap.
Mhm.
You don't become the mutton chop millionaire without doing $5 things here and there.
And your
Um,
turnaround time is really fast. I looked it up. It's very quick, getting the videos to
Yeah.
people.
I'll do birthdays. I'll do pep talks. I'll do advice. I'll do breakups. I don't care.
So I've never interviewed I've interviewed people on Cameo, but I've never thought to ask the questions about it. Like, do you do you choose when you're in character and out of character, or do you get requests for it to be in character? You get requests for it to be
So far,
out? Do
I've
you
had. I'll be
choose?
honest. It's relatively new. I've only had three so far.
Okay.
Um, and one person I knew, the other two were random, and no, as Mortimer Blankenship, I typically stay in character
Mhm.
on that because
That's what they want.
that's what they want. They're not. They don't. It isn't Matt Robinson on cameo. It's Mortimer Blankenship on cameo.
Right.
So that's yeah. That's I guess that's how. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the last one I did, I was just getting over sickness and barely had a voice.
I
Um,
watched that one. Your
yeah,
voice was,
yeah,
you even said, I apologize for my voice,
yeah.
like,
It was rough, but
yeah.
that one they sent me the entire script.
Okay.
Other people give you bulletin points of what you want to touch on, and
Hmm.
you do that. And I usually just cut it into a promo, about a minute and a half promo. Some people just give you the whole script, and I just did it in character, so
That's
added a little bit of
awesome.
my stuff.
What are you watching right now as far as wrestling? Do you watch anything current? Do you love the old stuff? Do you watch it? Because there's a lot of people in wrestling that don't watch wrestling, it seems like.
That would be me. I don't watch
Okay.
pro. I don't watch current product.
Okay.
I'll watch a pay per view. The ones that I
Right.
love, like I always watch the Royal Rumble, just because
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I'll watch Mania. I'll watch the Big Four. I like to watch
Right.
the Big
I know you
Four.
watched Survivor Series because you watched
Yeah.
the press conference.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
messaged you. That's good questions. But yeah,
Yeah.
I watch NWA and OVW a little
Okay.
bit, just because I like to see my buddies. I like to see
Mhm.
them. You know, progressing. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see. You know,
Yeah.
um, but I mean, we don't have cable. I don't watch AEW. I don't watch WWE, unless it's like the pay per view for
Sure.
WWE. Um,
Sure.
I will get on Peacock and watch 1980s old school wrestling. I mean,
More stuff where there's managers that you might be able to study and
oh yeah,
watch and
yeah,
and go,
yeah,
get stuff from.
yeah. Just the other night, I had Eloise sitting on my lap, and we were watching. There wasn't a manager match. We were watching Leap and Lanny Poffo versus I don't know what the name of the gimmick was, but it was clearly Dangerous Danny Davis under a mask.
Right.
Uh, yeah, but it was, and I was just like teaching her what good wrestling was. Check it out.
Yep. There's nothing. I mean, our my twins are two and a half now, and there was one night I was holding our because we have a boy and girl twins. It was time to put them to bed, it was a Monday night, and our Jack was sitting on my lap, and my wife's like, "All right, kids, time for bed." My son stands up on my lap, goes, "No, more wrestling." I'm like, "Yeah,
Hook, line, and sinker. Got it.
yes,
Yep,
yes." And
absolutely.
then our daughter, our 12-year-old used to like it. Then she realized it's, violent. But
Right.
we took her to one of the shows that I was working. I was doing an in-ring interview, and I thought I was being ribbed, that I was going to be taking a clothesline from the wrestler that I was interviewing, and so I didn't tell my wife and daughter ahead of time, and took a clothesline right there. And as they're helping me out, he looks down at my daughter. She's just in tears. She's just in
Oh
tears.
no.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's always
Yeah.
fun when your kids can watch it and just watch it and see it,
Yeah.
and seeing them
You know,
discover that.
I haven't had to deal with it yet. She's only
Right.
2 months
Yes,
old,
she's
but
very
but
little still.
when it
Yeah.
when it comes to that whole idea of my wife, she used to she comes to shows occasionally still. She enjoys it every now and again. I understand she has to take care of the kids. She doesn't want to necessarily be out in public, holding a crying baby.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's tough.
but when she comes to shows, like if there's a show that I'm going to bleed on, that's the one thing she hates. She does not want to see me
Yeah.
bleed.
Yeah.
I have a signal that I give her to let her know, hey, this is going to happen. Like, because
Right.
which I'll walk by her, and when I walk by her, I just go like I scratch my forehead looking at
Right.
her, and she knows. I mean, I may do that every now and again just to freak her out, and then not actually bleed. But but that's
That's
enough.
awesome. That's great. Finally, man, where can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they buy your merchandise when they're not at a show? All that
Um,
stuff. Plug
yeah,
yourself right now.
yeah, absolutely. I do a lot of most of my stuff is on Facebook. It's Facebook, Mortimer Blankenship. You could search it. And then there's my Cameo, of course, Mortimer Blankenship. It's all Mortimer Blankenship, baby. That's it. That's.
Easy.
But it's Jackson County Apparel. It's the J County app, I believe, is what it is. Uh, you're going to put a link for it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, you could find links to it on my Facebook. Got a whole bunch of shirts on there. Of course, if you come to any shows in Indiana um, that I'm on, I've got show exclusive merch that we were talking about. The green shirts, you can only get them from me at the show. You can only get the fedoras from me at the show. Which I would love to talk to everybody. And yes, I will be in character. If it, I have so many people try to get me out of character. That's one thing that I won't do. If I'm being paid to be Mortimer Blankenship at a show, I am Mortimer Blankenship at the show.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and then man, I have my seminar. If you get a chance to, if you're a wrestler that's I don't want to say any wrestler. This is definitely for people that are newer, because or if you just want to come and laugh at me, feel free. I'm doing a
Well,
seminar. It's
or if
this
you're just looking for a way, if you haven't connected the dots on how to make money outside of the
right.
ring, and to make more money from it. It sounds like that's what this
Yep.
seminar is really for too.
Yeah, and it's going to be at 4 p.m. at 2520 Lanier Drive. It's Supreme Wrestling. It's the arena in Madison. 2520 Lanier Drive, Madison, Indiana. It's 4 p.m. Saturday. That's the 13th. Right? Yeah, 13th.
Yep.
And it's only $10. And I want to talk about how to grow your merchandise table, how to give a proper promo, and how to develop a character that people remember, and what practices makes your character memorable. Yeah,
That is awesome. Morty, man, thank you so much for doing this interview, for taking
yeah,
time
absolutely,
tonight,
man.
especially out of your night. I know as a new parent how valuable your your evenings are. And so, man, thank you so much for doing this, and for reaching out to me and wanting to
Yeah,
do it. So,
absolutely,
yeah, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, and we need to connect at a show sometime soon.
absolutely.